I used to say that I was burnt out all the time. That was my line. And I almost said it like it was a badge of honor. I'm just tired. Oh, I've been pushing so hard. Yeah, I've been grafting. I think I just need to switch off for a little bit. And it almost sounded responsible, self-aware, mature, like I was putting the graft in. If I'm honest with you, I wasn't exhausted from persistent execution. I was exhausted from inconsistency and misalignment. There's a difference. Because my life looked fine on paper. I had money coming in, I was training here and there, I had projects moving forward, and people from the outside looking in said I was smashing it. But inside, I felt unstable. Not depressed, not failing, just off. Like I was operating at 60%, but pretending to everybody else like it was 110%. And that gap is draining. And I know you know that feeling. You start strong. You always start strong. New routine, new standards, new focus. You wake up early for a few days, you train, you execute, and you feel sharp, ready to take over the world. Then a few days later, you start to soften up again. You stay up late. You skip the hard task. You tell yourself that you'll tighten up again next week and lock in. So you don't end up crashing or hitting some mad rock bottom. You just end up drifting. And drifting's dangerous because nobody calls you out on it, because you're still functioning, still earning, still doing better than most. But privately, you feel that slide happening within inside you, and that quiet voice that says, you know you're capable of more than this, speaks to you in your head. You feel it in your chest. I used to think that I needed a break. I always thought a holiday would fix it, a reset, a few days where nobody expected anything from me, chance to recharge. But every time I took one of them things, the same thing happened. I came back and nothing had changed, because the problem was never the workload. It was misalignment. Body inconsistent, mind reactive, and business scattered. That's the 3 Bs. So let me tell you something personal. There was a phase in my life where I was training hard, but my business was chaotic. And then I've had other phases where I was pushing business hard, but then I become fat, got overweight, got out of shape. And another phase where all I was working on was mindset, meditation, healing, but I was avoiding all the money-making moves that actually move the needle forward. And I just convinced myself that I was improving, that I was focusing, but I wasn't integrated. And when you're not integrated, nothing can stick. So then you just end up resetting every Monday. You tell yourself that this is the week. You clean up your diet, you write your goals, and you promise yourself discipline. And by Thursday, you're negotiating with yourself again. It's crazy. The cycle never ends. And that cycle slowly erodes something deeper than motivation. It erodes your self-trust. You don't wake up one day just weak. You wake up one day unsure of yourself. Unsure because you've lost that self-trust, that self-confidence. So you don't actually know if you're going to follow through on what you say you will. Unsure if you'll be able to execute when it starts to get boring. Unsure if you can actually rely on yourself. And that uncertainty creates anxiety and overwhelm. And then you call it stress, you call it pressure, and you start telling everybody that you just burnt out. But a lot of the time, it's not burnout. It's just fragmentation, misalignment. Because let me tell you now, you do not need less responsibility. You need more structure, more alignment across body, being, business. You don't need to escape your life. You need to govern it. You need to start being in control of it. So the first B, body. Does your body reflect your ambition? Not your intentions, not your standard, not your intentions, but your standards. Because I used to say that I was driven, but my physique and my gut hanging over the edge of my trousers told a different story. Inconsistent, reactive, and my life was mood-based. And when your body's unstable, your mind follows, and vice versa, which leads me on to the second B, which is your being. Because I used to scroll more than I built, consume more than I created, and I'd react more than I decided. And I didn't have a structured way to control my internal world. And that would just break me down bit by bit. So I'd feel anxious and then blame the external pressure. But it wasn't pressure. It was a lack of self-governance. The third B, business. I'd always be active, busy, feeling like I'm in motion, but avoiding the 1 or 2 actions that actually move the needle forward. I'd spend my time on all the stuff that made me feel busy, but didn't actually create results because they were uncomfortable. So output fluctuated depending on my mood, and that's fragile. When your execution depends on how you feel, you're always going to feel unstable. What changed everything for me wasn't taking a break. It was installing a backbone in myself. Not hype, but structure. Mornings locked in. Body trained before the excuses had chance to wake up. Clear mental protocol. No phone chaos first thing in the morning. I absolutely love those mornings where I can actually think. Daily income generating activities and a nightly audit. I'd ask myself, did I execute today or did I just avoid? And there's no stories, just truth, raw, radical truth with myself. Consistency. And within weeks, something started to shift. The anxiety and the overwhelm that I feel within my chest started to drop. Not because life got easier, but because I stopped negotiating. Backbone started to replace the drift because I didn't need to escape. I needed to align. Because when your body's sharp, your confidence stabilizes. When your being is structured, your reactions start to slow down and you start to be able to actually deal with things. And when business is disciplined, your income becomes predictable and the alignment compounds. But here's the part that might sting and come like a bit of a slap in the face. If you keep telling yourself you need a break, you might just be protecting your comfort. Because tightening up means removing all those little escapes. The late night scrolling, the skipped workouts, those avoided hard tasks. It means raising your standards. And that's uncomfortable for a lot of people, but so staying stuck. They're both hard. You've got to pick your hard. Staying misaligned is expensive. It costs you momentum. It costs you your self-respect. It costs you years that you'll never get back. You don't need to become extreme. You need to become integrated, locked in, body aligned, being aligned, business aligned. Same standards across all three. No compartmentalizing, breaking them into separate areas. No, I'm going to kill it in one area, so I'm going to let myself slack off in other areas. Because that instability is exactly what's draining you. You don't need a holiday from your life. You need some fucking discipline inside of it. You don't need to slow down. You need to tighten up. And if this feels like I'm talking truth, you feel like you can relate to it, which it must do because you've clicked on it and got this far into the video, click the link in the description and get your free copy of the Alignment Blueprint. It's a system that I use with all my private clients to help them get aligned across body, being and business so their life moves forwards as one. It's not motivation or inspiration, it's structure. Because once you install a backbone, something powerful happens. You stop feeling slightly behind. You stop craving resets. You stop waking up disappointed in yourself and you become stable, calm, deliberate, hard to destabilize because you don't need a break. You need a fucking backbone. And deep down, you already know that, else you wouldn't have clicked on this video today. So I'll see you in the next video, but don't bother clicking on it if you're not going to get your free copy of the Alignment Blueprint, because that puts what I talk about in these videos into action in your life so you actually see some changes and feel excited about your life again. Let's fucking go.